Yo, what up, fam? EP200 coming at you hot. I'm your host, Andrew. I'm joined by my crew, Adam.
Hi.
Aaron.
Hello there.
And Ro Rizzle.
Hello, everyone.
It's always so difficult to be enthused about the fucking intros. God damn.
All right, so what are we talking about?
Yes, carry on.
Oh, yeah, I'm hosting.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Andrew's your
I
host
feel
this
like,
week.
okay, well, this is going to be weird after this intro. So, shooting happened in New Zealand. This is not good at all.
No, it's not good.
No,
A bunch,
it's not.
at least 40 people, last I heard, are dead
49 killed,
because
20 injured. Seriously.
a group of assholes decided it'd be a good idea to go to a couple of mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand.
Well,
and-
one asshole in particular.
Yeah, well, I thought it was was it multiple mosques though?
It was. I'm
Okay.
reading 3 arrests. One was actually doing the shooting, and 2
Okay.
for
Association.
having weapons.
Well, anyway, regardless, this asshole decided to go into a bunch of mosques and shoot up a bunch of people, men, women, and children, as they were just doing their thing and having their prayers. So good for him. I hope he feels real proud of himself, and I hope they fucking feed him to a bull shark.
So, is this individual still alive? I assume so. He didn't
Yeah, they
kill
took him
himself,
alive.
huh?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Anyway, it's a fucking mess of a situation, is what it is, because it's further proof that that there are just psychopathic people out there that just need to be,
Yeah.
Fuck me, man. Like I'm sick and tired because I was up last night playing God of War again, and all of a sudden I got bing, 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 bing all at the same time from my phone, and I'm like, that's my news apps. Because I have the BBC, CBC, CNN, and Al Jazeera's app on my phone, and one after the other, that news story came in, and when all 4 of my news apps go off at the same time, I'm like, oh Christ, there's nukes heading towards Washington, isn't there? Fuck. Yeah, no, it was very sad to see, because when I first looked, they were like shooting at a mosque, unconfirmed number of injured and victims, more to follow, because it was literally just happening. So obviously this is a really disgusting situation. I don't want to say thoughts and prayers, because I feel like that's a very not easy, but that's a very
Oh, so what? You're not thinking about them?
no. I
You're
am
praying
thinking about them, but I feel like thoughts and prayers is saying thoughts and prayers are with them, and they are. But
It's
saying
very
that is
hollow,
the equivalent.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a very needless tragedy that shit like this keeps happening for fucking no reason. So I don't know how you fix it, but here we are.
It's if we knew how to fix it. I think if there was an easy solution to fix it, we would be.
Yep.
We wouldn't have this.
Which
problem
is, of course, a
anymore.
problem you entrust to PixelJunkies. Don't worry, everybody. We'll figure it out.
Single-handedly solving the problems in the universe. Speaking of needless, we all saw Captain Marvel.
Oh, I don't think Andrew liked it.
You can hear Adam's face palm there. I'm pretty sure the mic picked that up.
I liked it. I liked it.
Did you see it, Rory?
It was
Yeah, I saw
100% all right.
It's the only thing I had time to do. At 9:50, I went out to Mount Pearl on Saturday at 9:50 and saw Captain Marvel.
Roy saw Captain Marvel and is doing this podcast to talk about it, and that's the only thing he did this week outside of I don't know,
Like,
fucking
literally.
exercising the chode or whatever.
Well,
That's
since
what Aaron thinks my job is.
Hey man, whatever you get paid for.
since Rory started off, Rory, what did you think of Captain Marvel?
Okay, so I liked it. Okay, let's start with the stuff I liked about it. I liked the pacing of it. I liked the scale of it. And we know that's kind of like, I have a bias for that, right? Like for things that are a little bit smaller scaled, like they're contextualized within the Marvel
true.
universe, but they have these small scale adventures. Love Ant-Man and all this sort of thing, right? So I liked that. I thought the casting was generally really good. I a particular shout out to Ben Mendelsohn. as the. Okay, I'm forgetting the character's name, which is kind of embarrassing.
I
But
believe it's
he's
General Talos.
Adam's got it
it's
actually.
Talos is from Elder Scrolls. Talos is MCU.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. That gentleman. I thought he did a really good job. He's obviously just really good, right? Like
Yeah.
he's really good in everything. And he kind of takes everything, right? Like he'll do a lot of different types of movies, which I think is cool.
It was nice to see him in a movie where he's not the villain.
I agree. I think. Oh, spoilers for Captain Marvel, by the way.
Good job.
That's a particular one. But I want to.
Captain Marvel dies.
I want to not preempt something that I think is going to come up the conversation here, but I would like to discuss something that I've seen talked about with regards to Captain Marvel, and I think it's related to something about Star Wars that I think is interesting. So
You shoot for it. Dude.
I think, for me personally, I think the MCU has established itself as a place where there's a massive power spectrum, right? You got, like, regular people who are, like, you
Like
know,
Hawkeye
they're
and
smart
Black
and they
Widow?
yeah, like Hawkeye and Black Widow, and even, like, people like, you know, like Hank Pym, who aren't currently active in doing their superhero thing, but they're helping out and they're using their knowledge and stuff like that, right?
And Thor.
And Thor, and then you jump up, you have Thor, you know, and things like that, and then you have Thanos, right? And Thanos is like crazy powerful, right? Like that's and he's powerful and good. He's good as a movie character, which I think is interesting because it's hard to make.
Thanos is Elder Scrolls. Thanos is MCU.
Right? Yes, Thanos. Yeah. So like, it's hard to make a character
Shout
as
out to your
powerful as.
previous joke.
It's hard to make a character as powerful as Thanos be a good character, right? Like that can be challenging sometimes, right?
Won't Thanos be Greek or something?
I guess Thanos sounds kind of Greek. Yeah, that sounds right to me. So in movies or in universes, and let's ignore the comics for a moment here. Let's just pretend that Marvel is purely a cinematic thing that exists in the MCU. In universes where the power spectrum is that large, I don't find Captain Marvel coming in and being suddenly super powerful that surprising. I don't think it's any more arbitrary than Thanos being super powerful, because he kind of came out of nowhere as far as the cinematic universe was concerned. We didn't get his backstory right away. He just pops in and he starts, taking
that's
people
pretty
to
fair.
town.
Same sort of with Black Panther. He has a bit of an origin story in Civil War, but not really, and it is suddenly super powerful with little to no explanation.
Like he's
Exactly,
as powerful
yeah.
as Captain America, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, even though he's not like the most powerful hero in the context of that film, he's certainly very powerful when you compare him to Captain America.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is one of the reasons why I don't mind when similar things pop up in, like, the context of Starkiller, for instance, in Star Wars, because I think that universe has established itself where the power spectrum is really large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the movie?
Not to make this about Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, because if you like that game series, that's fine. I don't like it. The reason I don't like Starkiller is not because he's super powerful, but because of what he does with the power kind of makes Luke's story irrelevant in the context of it. But that's neither
I think
here.
that's acceptable, yeah, because that's a narrative thing, right? Like, that's
But
a
kind of,
narrative
like,
problem you have with it, yeah.
Moving on from that, because
Sure,
let's
yeah.
not make this about. If I can say a few things about this film
Fire
before Andrew or Aaron jump into it, I liked it, but I will say it's not the best Marvel movie. It's not the worst. I don't feel like I've seen it twice because my dad wanted to go see it earlier the week as well, so I saw it with the guys, and then I saw it with my dad. So I had a chance to kind of, on a second viewing, I liked it a bit more on the second viewing. Some of the things that I liked about it were I liked most of the actors in this did a really good job. I liked Samuel Jackson. I really liked him as young Fury. He got he got the sense that he was like a different kind of, like, very early in his career. He still had a bit of like innocence, if for lack of a better term, to his character.
I agree with that.
I like was it
You
Ben
did
Mendelsohn?
see some age though in like the physical aspects of that role.
Oh yeah.
Like when he started running and he's got to drag the dialysis machine behind him. that was a little telling. But and then the scene when he, like, pets the cat or whatever, and he tries to stand up and, like, shatters both knees. Yeah. But yes, I think the effects they used on his face to make him look young. Really good.
Just
Well, I
enough,
mean,
I would say. Just
it
enough.
was-
You know what I
It
mean?
was established in the movie as well that he's been in like battles and stuff before. So
Oh, yeah.
I suppose on some level you could kind of assume that his bad
he-
knees are to do with fighting and shit. I don't know.
Because he made mention that he flew in like Vietnam as he was a full bird
Yeah.
colonel, and then he left and became a spy, and then after that he joined Shield. So he's like, yeah. I like Ben Mendelsohn, like Rory said. I liked Jude Law is just kind of in the role, and I think that's more the character than anything else. Where he's as effective a villain as Ironmonger was from the first Iron Man movie. So take that as you will.
I would say in particular, Adam, if I could just briefly, Jude Law in this film reminded me a lot of Paul Bettany in Solo, where it's like that's a good actor, and that like this role could kind of have been played by a bunch of different actors. It seems it didn't really use the actor, you know?
Yeah. Kind of a waste if you like. They could have stuck kind of anybody in there.
Yeah,
and it would have worked. And I feel like Jude Law is a bit of a waste on that. Like they could have had. Who could they like? They could have had. Well, anybody.
They could have had Gerard Butler.
Yeah,
for
that's
a tenth
really
of the
good point.
price.
Or Kenneth Branagh.
Rory's a big fan of Gerard Butler.
Then they could have saved Jude Law for an actual like hero role later on
Yeah, exactly.
because they're running out of actors.
Well, he didn't die. We might see him again.
No, but I meant for like a useful role.
Oh.
Sorry, Adam. Carry on with your.
So yeah, I thought that what else did I like? I thought that the action was fine enough. It didn't wow me because like some of the Marvel movies have had particularly good action, like Civil War and Endgame or Infinity War and Captain America: Winter Soldier. They all had really good fight scenes. I thought this was more just meh. Like nothing too great, like kind of a CGI fest in some parts. The choreography was just all right. It did its purpose. The soundtrack did its purpose. The writing did its purpose. That's the main thing about this, where I feel like this movie is not necessarily set up to tell an interesting story with this character, but more just to set her up so that she can have a bigger role in Infinity War. And it does a fine job with that. But everything is just okay. Nothing really stood out to me and shone. But at the same time, I didn't feel like there was anything particularly bad about this film. It's just very middle of the road Marvel. Like it's certainly not nearly as bad as Thor 1 or 2 or Ant-Man and the Wasp for me. But it's not as good as Thor 3 or Guardians of the Galaxy or Captain America: Civil War. So it doesn't reach the height of Marvel, but it doesn't nearly go to the bottom of it. It's right at the middle of the road. Like I would put this on the same level as the first Iron Man movie or the first Captain America movie, where it's like, yeah, these do their job and they're fun to watch and that kind of thing. I don't regret spending $20 going to see this movie, but it's not the greatest. I thought Brie Larson did a decent job as Captain Marvel, and I thought they ended up doing a pretty good job of her of getting Captain Marvel's kind of personality across, where she has a very forceful personality. I know some people have issue with it, but I thought she was fine. There's a few problems with pacing in the movie, but I feel like that's they had to fit a lot into this film, and I feel like if they tried to drag out the pacing a little bit, it might have ruined the film in other ways. What was nice to see, it was nice to see some characters from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So because the people that Captain Marvel is associated with are Kree, and the Kree are the villains of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, obviously there's going to be some similar characters that pop up. So it was nice to see that bit of a connection, that you can kind of see that this is, it kind of brings her into the universe.
Yeah. It also takes place in the mid-90s as well, so it's kind of like...
I think it's chronologically second.
I don't know when the first movies take place, but I know that like you're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy's characters, like this is before the events of the first Guardians movies by a while.
Well, I think the only Marvel movie that takes place before this
Captain
one
America.
is
Captain,
Yeah, Captain America.
The beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy takes place before this movie.
That's true. Andrew, Aaron, before you jump in, I would like to say something I forgot to mention that Adam reminded me of, actually, because one of the other things that I really liked is that this character doesn't seem to have the same like style of
Personality?
personality that yeah, and I one of my criticisms about the MCU is that the personalities are too homogenous. So I like
Thor and Iron Man and Doctor Strange.
and they've been more so as time went on, right? And so
Yeah.
I like that there's someone who brings a bit of a different vibe in the universe.
I'm not trying to defend that, but I will say, like, from a marketing kind of business standpoint, it makes sense because obviously Iron Man is really successful, so to make more Iron Mans, like, that makes sense. Like, from a
I
business
agree.
point of view, that makes sense. I also agree I don't like it, but at the same time, you know, well, anyway, that's another topic of conversation.
Aaron,
Andrew, what did you think of
Aaron,
this movie?
What did you think?
I think I'm stuck. Yeah, I mean, and on top of all the points that you guys have made, I think the biggest issue for me is I feel like she didn't really have enough presence in the role. Like, you're talking about her having a very
Do you mean
different
Brie Larson
personality.
didn't have enough presence, or do you mean Captain Marvel didn't have enough?
I mean,
presence?
I don't know if it's a fault of the acting or just the script or whatever. I'm not entirely certain. I guess you'd maybe have to do a bit of digging to figure all that shit out. But ultimately, I feel like because she does have that sort of different personality, she seems to be a bit more timid and sort of closed off as a character. She's like not an outspoken individual like a lot of the other jokesters in the current Marvel universe. And I feel like she doesn't really establish. There's a lot of exposition in the movie, and none of it really actually explains anything. I feel like it's okay. Yeah, you've got this hero that can shoot flames and is basically the most powerful character in the entire MCU, at least the most powerful hero anyway.
It's technically energy blast, but that's okay.
Well, whatever, photon torpedoes and whatnot. And that's fine. If that's who the character is, then that's fine. I don't have an issue with her being super overpowered. But I feel like if you're going to introduce a character that is outright the most powerful person in the MCU now, they need to have like a really strong presence on screen. And I feel like the way she came across in the movie wasn't profound enough. Like, I wasn't really like intimidated by her at any point, and throughout the film nothing felt like it really had much weight. A lot of the set pieces were kind of just like, there's one scene where a dude is like sitting on her back, like pinning her to the ground, and he's like, don't make me hurt you or something, or whatever he says, and then she's like, okay, and then she just like blasts him off. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that was no effort at all.
I know people are gonna hate me for this, but something that this movie should have taken from Dragon Ball Z is how to do a curb stop. So when Captain Marvel in the movie kind of comes into her own and gains access to her full suite of powers, at that point where she would have been, there should have been a scene where she was fighting, the bad guys before and was kind of, did kind of see that where she's struggling. She's doing a good job, but it's clear that she's outmatched because she just doesn't have enough power. When she kind of unlocks her full suite of powers, it should have been like Dragon Ball Z moment where she literally goes Super Saiyan, which was awesome. And then she should have just like absolutely just wrecked shop. Like, it shouldn't have even been fair. And for that, they should have kind of taken like I said, they should have taken something out of Dragon Ball Z, because that's that's kind of what that show is Goku goes Super Saiyan and then beats the shit out of whoever the villain of the day is. And
Yeah.
it would have been nice to see that. At the same time, I don't necessarily think that she's as powerful as everyone is making out to be. I would put her on...
Kevin Feige said she's the most powerful character now, so
Well,
I'm gonna assume he's correct.
I mean, in the comics, she's certainly a powerhouse. She's certainly one of the big
Feige,
heavy
yeah.
hitters of the Avengers, but she's on the same tier as Thor and Hulk. In terms of, like, she's not, like, leagues above them. It's more like she's in that class where, like, these guys can dish out some major damage. The reason that she's very powerful is because she's fast, she's strong, and she has energy blasts, whereas the Hulk is just kind of big and strong.
And that's part of the issue with the film is she starts the film with her powers effectively with one hand tied behind her back, and then later in the movie she gets all of her powers, and it's just like, okay, now I'm super powerful.
It's a Phoenix thing. It's a Phoenix thing.
Yeah, but there was no journey to learning to control her powers or anything. It was just like all of a sudden it's now turned up to 11 and you have all your powers and you can kill everybody. It's like
Yeah, that's a really
There
interesting
was-
point. Actually, I think
There was no, like, it wasn't
There's
a
no
hero's
character.
journey. Yeah, there was no arc. In fact, what I was saying earlier, like the exposition is kind of all for naught because it really doesn't do anything to develop her character. It
And there's
just serves to explain her origin, and that's it.
They super could have been, though. Like there could have been an origin for their for how she kind of came into her own, because one of the my favorite part of the film is the dynamic that she and Fury had. I thought that was like they had a lot. The two actors had a lot of chemistry together, and I feel like as Fury could have, because Jude Law plays her Kree mentor slash kind of like sergeant who's training her, and he's very much like, you have to shut away your emotions, it has to be pure logic, you have to just rely on technique. And I feel like Fury could have been the opposite of that, where he's like, no, you gotta go, and there was a little bit of this, but it should have been more like, no, you
Yeah.
gotta go with your gut, like you have a good heart, go with your heart. And then like throughout the film she kind of learns to go with that more, and it kind of played into that really good
That would have
dynamic they
been
had.
good. That would have been good because I think one of my major complaints with it is that she's not a relatable hero. They spent all this time explaining her origin without making her a relatable character. She gets, she is raised on an alien world with superpowers. It's like, yes, she was a human girl who eventually became super powerful, but that's in like a 5-minute flashback scene, an hour and a half, an hour into the movie. So it's really like she's just she starts out as this top tier superhero, and I think that sort of relationship with Fury could have grounded her a bit more, but it didn't.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question, Aaron? I'm curious because I think the way you phrased it was interesting, and I think this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually a big part of the reason you're not really a big DC guy, is it not? Because like the powerful kind of like alien, like the DC heroes, they're not relatable in the same way for you that you find the Marvel heroes relatable. Would you
maybe.
say that's
I mean,
accurate?
Maybe. I've never really thought about it. I don't really have much of an interest in DC. I don't know if that's just a personal taste thing or if it is something to do with how humanized these characters are. I know, like, Batman is a good character, and I've liked I was going to say the Arkham games, but Asylum at least, because I've only played that one. And that's,
It's the best one for me, in my opinion.
a good portrayal of the character, I think, is few portrayals as I have seen other than the Dark Knight movies. I would say Arkham Asylum is much better, but if there's that sort of respect to it, but there is a lot of like alien characters, and maybe I would appreciate them more if I got into it. They just seem to be like lamer superheroes in general, and I guess the big one for me, which is kind of unrelated, is just that they're not like, continuity is a big thing for me. If you've seen the podcast, then you already know this. And what really pulled me into the Marvel movies, I liked superheroes growing up as well, but once Iron Man got started and that all started to connect with one another, then that really pulled me into this universe. So I like that about it. But I was thinking earlier, as far as origin solo films
Yeah.
that Marvel has done, I think they've done 9. I was looking at them earlier.
I'll
think-
trust you on that number.
Because we had Iron Man, Thor, Captain
Well, Hulk.
America.
Let's go in order.
Hulk, yeah, Hulk as well.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man was first.
Iron Man was first by a month. Iron Man, then
So
Hulk.
Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, or Thor, Captain America,
Yeah.
Black Panther, Doctor
Ant-Man.
Strange, Ant-Man as well.
That's 7
anyway,
we got so
I believe
far.
they're...
And now Captain Marvel and
Oh, shit.
I'm sure there's
Yeah.
another one that we're
Oh,
all sitting
fuck.
around
Are we
forgetting,
talking
but-
about the people who are left?
No, just solo origin movies that they have done in the MCU. So
Oh, yeah.
whoever... I
Spider-Man.
believe it was 9. Spider-Man as well was another one.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Um,
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Anyway, as far as those go, I think, and I guess you could, well, no, I'm not going to include Guardians because it's not really a solo film. But as far as those movies go, I feel like this falls pretty average. I feel like it's easy to forget how kind of middle of the road solo Marvel movies have been. The first 2 Thor movies are awful.
Trash.
Captain America is kind of okay. Hulk, I haven't seen it. Iron Man was pretty good. I remember it being really good at the time. I feel like if you went back and watched it now, it would fall around. Like that was pretty okay. Black Panther, again, it was okay. Ant-Man was okay. they're all just kind of okay movies. I feel like this falls sort of in the same cluster for me.
I have much more of a like with the solo origin movies. Like I don't know if I have any okay ones. There are the ones I like and the ones I don't like. Like I'm very binary on those films.
I mean, and they're not.
Why,
I guess it's difficult for me to place why, but in terms of like, I don't know what would be my favorite solo Marvel movie at this point if I were to think about it. Maybe Spider-Man, Iron Man, or Ant-Man. Maybe it's difficult to tell because they're.
You mean the one that like introduces the character? Because obviously it's Thor 3 for you.
Oh, Ragnarok doesn't. Yeah, no, Ragnarok doesn't count. I think Ragnarok's probably the best Marvel movie, in my opinion. And it, if that had been an origin movie, then absolutely Ragnarok. But in terms of like a story that establishes a character and their role in the universe, they all spend kind of too long establishing the character and not enough time being a superhero movie. And even though this movie does a lot of setting up Captain Marvel, I still feel like it falls within that role, within that middle ground of just being sort of an average action movie. And then you end up with like Infinity Wars and Civil Wars and stuff where you get proper action movies with the characters that you don't need to spend 45 minutes explaining because everybody knows about them. And it just all makes sense. And, and even like how kind of Black Panther's introduced in Civil War is kind of nice as well because it's just like, I feel like the Russo brothers realized you don't need to spend an hour establishing a character. You can kind of have, the character show up, be like, oh man, who's that guy? And then give him like a 5 to 10 minute, like powerful Kickstarter to their character, where his T'Challa's, is that his name? Father dies. That's like, oh man, okay. Well, you got the ball rolling on this one already. And you didn't spend half the movie doing it. And plus you got like 20 other characters in the movie. So that was nice, but yeah, for me, it was okay. It was an okay movie.
Andrew,
if you like the Marvel universe, then go see it, I guess.
Andrew, where do you fall on Captain Marvel?
Very middle of the road.
Very much like Aaron.
Probably worse than Aaron's opinion. I thought Brie Larson was probably the worst part of this movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, I did not enjoy her take on the character at all. I think I don't know if it's because of her. I'm not a huge fan of her anyway, but I don't know if it was her acting skills or the way they wrote the character.
Right.
She
I see
was
what
just,
you mean.
I realize that the movie really wasn't made for people like us. It had a different audience in mind. Clearly, obviously. So I'd be interested in hearing the opinions of somebody that the movie was, clearly targeted for. But in terms of Captain Marvel's character, it feels like they, like you said, Rory, they stripped her of that snarky, typical Marvel personality.
Yes, yeah.
And instead gave her something between no personality at all and a very condescending personality.
Oh, it's interesting. So something I liked, you noticed the same thing, but you didn't like it the way I liked it.
I'm not saying I would have preferred
feature, right?
a snarky personality either. I think making her just a really genuinely good person, like maybe something closer to Captain America than either the snarky attitude or the very condescending attitude. Captain Marvel's this powerhouse. She's supposed to be a hero, but throughout the whole movie, she's just ragging on everybody.
Yeah, I guess, like, for me, that's probably the key difference. We were talking about, like, a really strong personality. Like, Chris Evans does a good job with Captain America. He's a very quiet character, but it's very evident that he has his rules. Like, he has his motivations, and he has his, like, code that he lives by. Whereas that, with Captain Marvel, that's not really evident. I feel like they tried to write her as a funny character, and that just ended up coming across as condescending.
She asserts her dominance as a character by putting all the other characters down, whereas a character like Captain Marvel asserts his dominance.
You're looking at
Captain
America.
Power
Captain America.
By What did I say?
Captain Marvel.
I meant Captain America.
Yeah.
He asserts his power, his dominance as a character by being the best at what he's doing. He shows everybody that he's capable. He starts off as a plucky thing, and then he becomes a fucking powerhouse and a genuinely nice person that everybody likes. And he doesn't spend the movie talking down to everybody.
Right. So this kind of character, like as a hero, this doesn't really hit home for you.
No, not at all. In fact, I would barely call this a hero. What does she do? What does she do? She follows Nick Fury.
I mean more in the narrative sense than the philosophical sense.
There's not a strong.
She's a
Well,
hero
even
in the
still-
context of the universe, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
that's-
but is she though? Because, like, she doesn't really have much leadership. She ends up going to Earth kind of by accident, and then meeting Nick Fury, and then doing a couple of things that he kind of tells her to do, and then she ends up leaving Earth again for some reason, and killing a bunch of Kree in the process.
Now,
So
Nick, don't call me back unless it's really important.
For me, that was interesting. I liked seeing that as a different addition, because that's something. It wasn't like. So, like, one of the things I don't like when DC does is when they try to imitate Marvel in some way. And I was worried that if Marvel tried to do a different kind of character, they'd try to imitate the way DC does their characters. But this isn't like a character that's in Marvel or DC, at the moment, at least. So, like, to me, that was, like, part of the excitement of the film. But I could see, and I don't think you're the only one, Andrew. I don't think you're alone in that rubbing you the wrong way, either.
It was just very abrasive, and I think it was for no reason other than, well, honestly, I think there was a political reason why she was so abrasive in this movie. And I really don't see the need for that. I get the message. It's hard to miss the message. But I think Wonder Woman's did
Terrific movie.
terrific movie, except for the end. Did a much better job at portraying the same messages, for the most part, without resorting to that, heavy-handed approach.
Right,
Because
Wonder
her character
Woman's
came off much more like Captain America's character. She was a genuinely nice person, but a very powerful person.
The vibe is very different. I think, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, she was a very attractive character in the same way that Captain America is a very attractive character. And what is Captain Marvel's name?
Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers. Not a very attractive character. And I don't mean physically, I mean personality-wise.
You mean in terms of the personality. I think that Wonder Woman actually has a lot of similarities to Captain America. I think it's an interesting comparison, because they also both have a sense of innocence, which I think is really interesting to explore in the context of a hero. I think that's a good, interesting theme.
But
Yeah, they
apart
need to be
from-
they need to be vulnerable on some level, even if they're
Yikes,
Captain
what happened there?
America.
Sorry,
Smack
I
shit.
hit my mic by accident. I'm really sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
That really hurt.
She
But I
doesn't
mean-
have an arc in this movie either, like I said. Fury is the only character in this movie with an actual arc. Carol Danvers starts out really powerful, and she learns to take a lump off her neck, and now she's even more powerful. Like, that's her character in this movie.
Yeah.
And Fury becomes the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., really. He steps into that leadership role. That's his arc in this movie. So, this
the
is
way-
kind of his movie even more than hers,
Can I just say
if
very
we're talking
quickly?
about arcs.
It was very, very nice to see Agent Coulson again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Even though, I know he's still active in the DC, in the Marvel universe, but it was nice to see him.
And they
with
did a
other
pretty good
characters.
job with making him look younger as well.
Yeah. We didn't see too
Yeah.
much of him, but it was a
Not a
nice
lot.
wink and a nod.
But he does look a lot younger than he currently does on the show, so they did a solid job there.
Yeah. I thought
They
action
did a
in
really
this
good job with
movie-
the effects, actually.
I thought the action in this movie ranged from mediocre to really bad. The fight scene where she becomes like self-aware.
I know the
Just
one
a
you're talking
Girl
about.
starts playing because
That was
it
an
wasn't
awful
heavy-handed
choice.
enough.
That was an awful choice because I know what they were trying. There was like a thematic thing, but I would have went for something that would have pumped up the action of that scene. So I would have went with something by like Motley Crue or like
Not really thematic though,
Iron
is
Maiden.
it?
No, it's just because it has girl. in
I'm
it.
just a girl that flew a faster than light jet and then became the most powerful hero in this universe. But I'm just a girl.
Well, I think that I think it was also partly a setting thing.
Yeah, but I mean, Iron Maiden
Yeah.
exists, and she was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt earlier in the
No,
movie.
but I'm saying I don't think it was just a thema. I don't think it was just because there's.
Yeah, but there's other
I don't
songs
think
from the
it's-
'90s, Rory.
Yeah, but no. But I'm saying the point that was made was that the only reason the song was picked was because it was a song about being a girl, and I don't think that's the only reason. I don't think that's the extent of the
I do.
thematic. I think it's because. But you have to acknowledge that it's also a fitting song for the setting, right?
Not really though, because she's not just a girl.
I'm
I
thinking-
don't agree with you, Rory, because I feel like it is kind of appropriate to the setting, but I feel like there's better songs for the setting.
No, I
that would've
acknowledge
fit
that, but I'm
moment.
saying that since it is appropriate for the setting, I don't think you can say that the only reason it was picked
Oh,
is because
okay,
it's a
yes,
song about
okay.
being a girl. Because there's necessarily another fitting reason.
What year did?
And what is that?
year does the movie take place in?
'95.
It's just the same year the song came out.
Yeah. Okay. It was very on the nose. And
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that it wasn't picked because of that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that there's a possibility, right? It's present that it
If-
could have been picked from a setting perspective.
Because they're like Andrew was saying, some of the political reasons are a little on the nose. If it weren't for those parts of the movie, then it might have not been such a rough edge to just have this song start playing. But because it's pointed out, numerous times throughout the movie, just kind of like, yeah, she's a female. It's like it's just, and then to play that song when you get to like one of the bigger set pieces, kind of kicking off the third act of the movie, it's a bit like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have a preface. I don't have any issue with there being a female Marvel movie. I think there should be more of them. I'd like to see a Scarlet Witch movie. I'd like to see a Black Widow movie. Fucking do them up. Do all.
I think
of
we
them.
will
don't
see a
give
Black
shit.
Widow movie, right?
definitely
Yeah,
won't
that's
see a
great.
Scarlet Witch movie.
Maybe not, but more female superhero movies I'm totally fine with. I just don't think you need to, like, it would be the same as, Captain America, like, stroking his dick in the middle of the Captain America movie. It's not like, you don't really need to bring
He did that though.
any kind of, you don't need to,
I think Adam watched the porn parody. I think it was.
there were a couple of,
It's a pretty lame porn parody. He just
Shirtless
masturbates
scenes.
for half the movie.
but,
Wow, this is really tame, I guess. Why am I
some
watching
people
this?
get, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Yep, fuck. I just feel like you don't need to bring those sorts of things into that movie. Like, I know that's a great avenue to make a statement, but at the same time, these are movies designed to help people escape reality, not to, like, hit you over the head with it. It's like, yes, women deserve
You
equal
still
rights.
have to recognize that this movie, like I said, it wasn't really made with you
Yeah, I know.
as the target demographic here.
I don't necessarily. Maybe you could make an argument for Marvel, but I don't necessarily agree with the movies as escapism philosophy, because so much of the stuff we've seen over the years, like The Matrix and Star Trek, has been heavily political. Like, for a really
and I don't
long
think
time.
I don't think you're gonna get it like a big, epic action adventure that's not in some way inspired by our world and the events at the time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars is very much that. But at the same time, you can, you put enough layers of shit over the top of it, and eventually it just kind of becomes something else. Like, even though Star Wars is very political, at the same time, it really isn't.
Right, you're
And
saying you can explore it from either angle.
It-
Like, if you want to ignore the politics in Star Wars, you're capable sort of doing
Yes,
that.
but
I
at-
understand. I understand.
Like, the politics in Star Wars are about politics in Star Wars. They're not about, like, Donald Trump or anything. The politics in this movie are about our world right now. And it's like, women deserve equal rights and everything. Let's wedge this into a movie that takes place in the 90s. that stars a woman for the first time in our 21 movies. So it's like you're not really making a statement, Marvel, when this is your first female solo movie when you've made 21 of them. And you're like, yeah, women. It's like,
that's a really interesting point, actually. That, like, basically what you're saying, if Marvel wanted to get to that statement, they should have gotten to it sooner.
I feel like they wouldn't have had to have made this. Yeah, they wouldn't have had to make the statement because they would have done it back in 2010 or something.
I think that's a very interesting point, actually. Yeah.
You know, when Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2, that's when they should have had done her movie immediately after Iron Man 2. Do her origin movie. You already established her in the second movie.
That would have been a great time for that. I agree 10,000%. Actually, I think that would have been a perfect time for a Black Widow movie.
Yeah. So fucking
Anyway,
girl
the
power.
reason I brought up that fight scene,
Oh yeah,
where
sorry.
just a girl starts playing, is you can't see anything. The lighting in that whole scene is terrible. The fist fight scene on the ship.
Yeah, I know what
It's
you're talking about.
It's so dark you can't actually see anything that's going on.
It's also a bit of a soggy dick fight as well because it's
It
like
is, yeah, but
she
that
just kills
aside-
everybody immediately.
That aside, the direction of that whole scene was bad. Also, I'd like to point out how straight up retarded it is how she gets her outfit colors changed.
What do you
By
mean that
the
she can
little
just?
girl.
No, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
It was
explain to me
heartwarming,
how-
Andrew. It was heartwarming.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You don't
was
have
like-
alien technology, and you hold your arm out, and the girl instantly knows how to change all your colors on the outfit.
Yeah, okay, but then like
I don't know,
you
man,
it would
I'm
have been an
giving my
engaging
phone
movie.
to my-
45 minutes of the girl trying to figure out how to change the colors.
I like
and the...
that this is the controversial one of the podcast.
I don't know. I think
colors.
it's totally legit because I've given my iPhone to my 4-year-old niece and she knows exactly how to use it immediately. I'm like, how the fuck do you know how to use this?
Yeah, that's an iPhone that she's seen before, though.
But has she?
I'm sure
though?
she
Like-
plays with her mother's phone all the time.
Yeah, but at the same
I'm
time,
talking about like potentially dangerous alien technology on your arm.
maybe it's just a little touchpad
And-
with some colors on it. It's not fucking.
Yeah, but how does she know
arbitrary.
how to perfectly match colors, perfectly change colors on the outfit? Why
Because
why
it
didn't
wouldn't
they
have
just
been
have
any
their
She
little
was
Version
fucking
half.
around with it,
What?
and nothing was
No,
working. and then-
no, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
She instantly knew. No,
I don't agree. I don't agree. I don't think. I think she seemed to know what she was doing.
She
I don't
instantly
object
knew
to that.
how to change the colors.
I don't object to the fact that she seemed to know what she was doing, but she did seem to know what she was doing.
I do. It was so stupid. I
Maybe-
had to force myself to stay in the theater at that point. That was my most hated part of the movie.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
honest to God.
so. When I. Because the only time I've ever wanted to get up and walk out of a movie theater is when I heard Transformium and Transformers 4. This
That was
your
stupid.
Transformium?
That was stupid but hilarious.
no.
this was
it
insulting.
Stupid and awful. I thought it was charming. I thought it was a good scene between
It
Carol
could
Danvers
have
and
been
this girl.
charming. It could have been charming if Carol Danvers showed the little girl how to work her arm.
Maybe she did in a scene we didn't see.
No,
I
you
know.
didn't, because this was the very first time that they even thought of changing the colors on her outfit. You go back and watch this scene again for what I'm talking about.
not trying to defend it.
specifically,
I don't really
and you
care.
will hate it as much as I do.
I don't really care.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. This is the worst
Considering-
scene in any Marvel movie.
Oh, not even
Considering-
close, my
Yeah,
friend.
it is. I
No.
swear to God, it is.
It is not the worst scene in any fucking.
I also
Marvel
disagree.
movie.
Name a worse scene.
Watch Thor 1 and take a scene from that,
Yeah.
and then you're done.
Any
Game
scene
over.
I would
with
take
Kane
any
in it.
scene in Thor 1 or 2 over this scene in this movie.
No. Some of the stuff from Ant-Man and the Wasp was pretty bad.
In Avengers Infinity War, when Spider-Man repeats the joke.
What joke?
The joke about, did you
Any
see the
joke.
old
Pick a
movie
joke
where...
and Spider-Man repeats it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they ran out
But-
of... They ran out of material.
Yeah. Again,
Considering
that's
everything
stupid,
else that's
but
been
not
established in the
stupid to the
universe.
point of insulting.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
I just have a
whatever.
problem with kids.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a
you
bit of a
do
theme
not
there.
you do not like child actors. That's gotta be
I really
said.
don't.
I gotta
I
call
don't,
you
I really
out for
don't.
that right now.
This girl was straight up bad. She was
I
not.
didn't
good.
have a massive problem with her. She's okay. She's a kid. What do you want?
I mean, she was perfectly in line with most child actors in that she was terrible.
What do you expect from kids, though? They're kids.
Well, see, there are some kids that are really good though, really convincing. I don't think
Which
think I'm out of
kids?
line by asking that. Hey, maybe hire good actors.
Yeah, but a kid is also going to be kid-like. So to have a kid that's not kid-like is also a bad actor.
But you can have a kid that knows how to act, because they exist.
Okay, who are some good kid actors?
Well,
That
they're
have-
all grown up now,
But what
They're
movies-
all grown up now. They're all gone. There's no more.
right? They continued their career because they were good actors. You know where
Well,
we're gonna
okay,
see
what-
this girl in this movie? Nowhere, because this is the last movie she'll ever be in because she's terrible.
What movie has had a good kid actor in it?
Super 8.
Huh?
Super 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Super 8 was good. It's not a. It's not a
Love
movie,
Super 8, in fact.
But I think it's even more impressive because it's a fucking TV show.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, Stranger Things. Great
Yeah.
cast in that. I thought the kids from even though this was a while ago, a lot of stuff from the '90s had good
Ender's
kid
Game,
actors.
Adam? Ender's Game, the film, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought
it's-
they acted
Some of
pretty
them
well in
were
that.
bad in that, but genuinely good casting.
It was a mixed bag, but the
generally, I meant.
yeah.
I guess I'm less susceptible to knowing about decent acting from a child because none of them really like. If I see a kid on a screen, it's just all levity. There's never any like serious moments generally. Like if you do get into a serious moment with a child, that does start to fall apart. But I think in most movies, especially the Marvel movies, there aren't really any serious moments with children. So
The guy,
camouflage to me.
the kid that played Atreus in God of War.
Yeah.
But was that actually a kid though?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
it was, yeah.
he was up with.
Don't you remember watching the Game Awards there, Aaron?
Yeah,
when
he was up
accepted
there
the award?
with Tolk from
Yeah, I'm afraid
Stargate.
it was just the guy who did his mocap or something.
Is that Tolk? Is that his name?
That's no, it's Teal'c.
Teal'c. Fuck.
Yeah, the
Man, it's been a while since I watched Stargate. I gotta watch.
Stargate's
that
good,
again.
man. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm not angry at the child for being bad, but
Yeah.
if you're asking me to believe in these characters, you have to have somebody with more acting talent in the roles.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Because it's completely not believable when they're clearly, I can't say phoning it in, because that kid doesn't even know what a phone is. But
Sure she does. She knew how to use an alien suit.
true enough.
She knows all kinds of technology.
No, I meant like a typical landline phone,
Oh, well, yeah, not gonna...
where the phrase comes from. I mean,
How long do you think that phone clip art that you see of like the traditional phone on the hook? How long before you think that's totally unrecognizable to kids? Before like kids don't even know what that is.
Probably
Now.
now.
Now, okay, yeah, you're probably right.
probably years ago.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of kids and they're asked, like, they're showing a floppy disk and they say, what is this? And they say a save icon. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much. The,
Anyway, that scene was stupid. I ask anybody that is here in this Discord room right now or listening to this podcast, go watch the scene where Carol Danvers gets
Get
her
on it,
suit
Thomas.
colors and not think it's stupid when it happens.
It's not awesome. It's not great. But in terms of all the other things established in the Marvel movies, and particularly this movie, I feel like it falls along that like middle of the road average. It's whatever. It's like, okay,
The-
yes,
the
this
kid
is
in
how she
Iron
gets
Man
colors,
3.
whatever. Don't remember.
Decent.
Yeah, that was
when
good.
he had to
Yeah, yeah.
fix his suit.
Yep,
Decent
that,
kid.
I like that movie actually.
Yeah, but then he would go on to be killed by a velociraptor. In
But
Jurassic
you also
World.
liked Captain Marvel, Rory.
I also like Captain Marvel, so yeah, maybe I will say that is one of the things that I like about this podcast is we've gone through everybody. We didn't do it in any sort of intentional order, but we probably started out most positive about Captain Marvel to least positive about Captain Marvel, and I'm glad that this is at least one of those podcasts where there's at least a spectrum of opinion going on
Yeah.
on the movie.
I wish I wasn't the least positive. I wish I liked this more, but
Actually,
there's
I'm glad
too
you
many
don't.
things in this movie that stood out as not good.
I'm glad you don't like this movie because, like, you know, it's nice to hear somebody with a different opinion than mine. And like I don't agree with them, but I can certainly see where your criticisms of the movies come from, and I don't think they're not. Except for the scene except for the color choosing scene, which I don't want to get into that again. I think all of your criticisms are valid. So, you know, the thing I don't like about this movie in particular is, and kind of getting away from the actual review of the movie, is there's I've read some reports that people were getting salty that this movie wasn't getting great reviews from certain critics, or that people weren't giving this movie, you know, were really. It just seemed like people were like, you know, oh, like, again, I don't know how valid this is, because this could all be fake internet bullshit. But I was reading stuff where people were getting upset because people said, I don't like this movie because it's, you know, just okay.
People were upset about the bad audience reviews, not the bad critic reviews. Because honestly, the critic reviews were very positive, but people didn't like the bad audience reviews.
And I'm just saying, you know, like, people are allowed to have their opinion, you know.
Not according to Rotten Tomatoes, which deleted like 50,000 reviews.
Really?
Yep.
I think some of those, though, for context, I think some of those were related to people just deliberately trolling the service, who have done before, like particularly when the female Ghostbusters came out. And before the movie was even out, started leaving shit reviews on it.
Yes. You're not wrong.
So I think that's why that's like that. Maybe what a lot of people, you know, people get militant about fucking everything these days. I think maybe half the reason is probably people don't explain why. If they say it's just okay, in, like, you know, particular context. I'm the same way. I think it was okay, but, you know, we've already run through our reasons why, so hopefully that's enough justification. And once again, I don't know if... I think Brie Larson's okay. She's probably a nice person. Don't know.
I don't think she is.
Well, not
every interview that she's in, she comes off like the Carol.
She's
Danvers
got attitude.
character.
She's got attitude.
Yeah, she's very condescending.
She's you know, she's kind of tough. I like it. I think it's pretty punk rock. I don't know. That's just me. That's my. I think we get
to
a
me,
different
it's
vibe from
arrogant
it,
and
though.
condescending. But
I don't know. I mean, you can have an abrasive personality and not be terrible. I'm pretty sure I got an abrasive personality, but I'm not, you know, the worst person on the planet. So
no,
maybe
and neither is Brie Larson.
maybe I'm Carl Danvers.
To be fair, the worst person on the planet right now is probably the guy who went into down in New Zealand and then shot up 3 mosques. Let's be honest.
Well, 2 mosques.
Well, I thought it was 3 mosques. Regardless,
It was 2
one
mosques,
is too many.
3 people, 49 dead, 20 injured.
Yeah. Well, regardless, one of any of those is more than you know, than we.
One
you
too
know.
many of
Yes.
everything. I mean, one is too many of anything there,
Yeah.
except for mosques, I guess. That exist, not mosques that got shot up.
You guys see the Endgame trailer?
Anyway,
New Endgame trailer. Moving on to
Yes.
number 3 on this entire list.
this is good. We're almost done here. Speaking of Captain Marvel,
So if I can talk about this for a little bit, I saw this last night as of this recording is when I first watched this, and then I had to watch it again today because apparently I clicked I clicked out of the tab too early because apparently there was additional scenes after the title card
yeah,
came
you
up.
should know this by now.
I should.
It's
I
always-
just don't.
it's always an
I was fucking
end scene.
tired. I was tired. I've had a tiring week, Aaron.
There's 40 seconds.
Can't
left
all
in
just
this
sit in
video.
our
I guess
room
I'll
all day,
close it.
farting in our own, stewing in our own fart gas.
Stop fart shaming.
Anyway, I'm gonna be with the general public on this one, even though I can kind of see. I think I know what they're doing with this. I really don't like the fucking Thunderbirds are Gold style jumpsuits that they got everybody in, the white and red ones. In fact,
really?
I sent an image to the chat a little while ago that I thought was fucking hilarious that somebody posted. So Aaron, if you could flash the image up on the screen, that would be perfect.
Sweet.
Yeah. Again, they don't need another trailer to get me hyped for this movie. I was hyped for this movie when I left Infinity War, but at the same time, it does its job. It was nice to see
That's why I like this trailer.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it, but other people should probably talk.
Well, I was just gonna say I like this trailer because the way it's edited really sets up this movie and all the movies leading into it. Like there's clips from Captain America and the first Iron Man movie and stuff like that. They kind of establish the significance of this film, but at the same time, they really show you nothing from this movie, which in the current climate of trailers and movies is really nice to not see the big fight at the end of the movie in the trailer. You know, all you really see is them walking, and it's like, this is epic. I really like the setup. It's good.
Was Rocket in this? I can't remember.
Yes, he was standing on War Machine's shoulder.
Oh, right.
I haven't.
I don't
Go
like
ahead.
how they've changed the one I hate the most is War Machine, because all the other people can just take off their gear when they get wherever they're going. I'm just assuming it's like space travel stuff. But they painted War Machine's armor this fucking awful color. I like War Machine's colors. I like the silver and black, like, or gunmetal gray or whatever. Those are excellent
What about
colors.
the Iron Patriot or whatever when he was in that movie?
Yeah, but that was
Remember
awful. Like the reason that the Iron Patriot exists is because fucking in the comics, Green Goblin stole the Iron Man suits and wanted to make himself out to be a combination of Captain America and Iron Man, so he could call him. So he got Tony's suit, painted it Captain America colors, and call himself the Iron Patriot, so everyone would forget that he's a fucking supervillain. It didn't work.
Yeah, but I think as far as one movie goes, it's nice to have a change.
I suppose, but like, no, not these
And I don't
colors.
think it looks
They're
awful
fucking
either.
awful. It looks like those fucking, what are those hard candies? The creams or whatever. You know what I mean?
What?
There's these hard,
Swirls.
yeah, swirly creams or whatever.
Oh, gee, I know what he's talking about. They're white and red, and
Yeah.
the red are in these sort of waveform patterns. Yeah, no, Aaron, you've had them. If you've been to a restaurant in the past 25 years, and
I
at
have.
the end when you get your check, they bring you these things and the wrappers, the candies.
Oh, I'm thinking
Yeah, you
that
got
the cream bit was throwing me off. I was expecting a hard red shell on the outside and then a creamy nougat.
Oh no!
Like,
He
what
means
the
like
fuck
the hard
candy
candies.
is this?
So I don't know how I feel about the suits yet, because I was have you guys seen all like the new Star Trek movies, like the J.J. Abrams team ones?
Yep.
So
Yes.
Andrew?
Oh yeah.
So I really hate the like pajamas they wear in the Into Darkness in the second one, when they like the gray like that really like dark gray like
Yeah.
carpet like material they wear. Really hate it, but I didn't hate it until I saw it on screen and moving, and I find my impression of the way certain things look is colored by how they look, like not in the trailer but actually in motion. Like,
Yeah.
we all saw that still from Suicide Squad before it was released, and that looked like trash. But in motion, the
It still
makeup
looked
turned
like
out
trash, but slightly less.
it definitely looked better, right? Like, no matter what your perspective is on that. So I'll wait to pass judgments on the suits. I've never liked the design of War Machine.
What?
And
You're talking about his Iron Man with a minigun on his shoulder. Wasn't that
boom,
the like?
there you go. That's what I don't like. If you want to know how to, like, for me, what I like about different suit designs, if you look at all the different suits that Batman has had, like, that's like they're larger iterations of the same one. Like, they look very different. To me, War Machine, the mask especially, is not a big enough iteration of the Iron Man mask.
Yeah, I get that. I don't.
that's
I don't,
what I wanna
I
see
don't
in this
personally find
movie.
that, but I understand it.
Sure, yeah. So I'd like to see that in this movie, like a Batman-style change.
He's
I
got
think-
red eyes now.
I think what they could do is get
I don't know if
it
he's
to
always
make
had
War
those or
Machine
not.
look different. Is angle the eyes down so it looks like he's kind of frowning, and get rid of the mouth bit and just make
Yep.
that one solid piece so it looks more like a mask.
I would
I
make
think
it
that-
a vent-style grill myself,
Or,
but that
yeah.
works too.
Yeah, just something to make it look a bit more military and less stylized.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway,
Well, I mean, at the same
just
time,
I tend to like War Machine better than Iron Man anyway, just because when it comes to these kind of mech suits or whatever, I prefer the ones with the big fuck off guns and cannons on it and stuff.
yeah.
Sorry, Aaron, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
no, I mean, as like an origin of War Machine, he started off as an unpainted suit that Tony had made. So it,
Yeah, but I feel like you
it
can
makes
change
sense
that.
that it looks. Yeah, but at this point, I mean, I don't know. At this point, the aesthetic is established. You know, that's what we've been using forever. It's like, oh, let's change it because Rhodey doesn't like it or whatever. Or,
I think they should bring back Terrence Howard.
I agree.
Fuck off.
I agree. Shout
Man,
out
Avengers-
to Andrew.
No.
Like,
Avengers
Andrew is the brave
Teriology.
man we need on this podcast.
No,
Right?
fuck off,
Yeah.
Terrence Howard.
right.
Don Cheadle all the way.
Bring
I
back
like
He can
Terrence
use he
Howard.
can use his teriology
Oh
and
man,
he can surpass Tony Stark as the number one.
that's what that from the first teaser when Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans are like, well, this got to work. They're actually talking to Terrence Howard about teriology.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, 1 + 1 = 1 or whatever. He's like, yeah, this got to
One
work.
plus one equals infinity, and then he ascends to
Oh,
godhood.
war.
Oh man, it's actually one war.
Did you
That's how
say?
they be-
Did you say war, Adam?
Yeah.
That could be his catchphrase. 1 + 1 = war.
One
'Cause he
times
wore
one.
the
Andrew,
Oh my
1
God.
times 1 is the.
Oh,
there you
1
go.
times 1.
1 × 1
Yeah.
is 2 or whatever.
Yeah, 1 times 1 = 2. That's right. The
I like the bit in the first Iron Man where Terrence Howard goes. It looks at the War Machine suit and he goes, maybe next time. And then in the next movie, he's Don Cheadle.
It's so stupid. Speaking
that's my
of
favorite
stupid, James Gunn is back on Guardians 3.
I was
Fucking
shocked and awed when this happened.
Yeah.
I honestly
Yeah.
didn't
Little
see
blown
this
away.
coming.
I was like the
Like-
Vietnamese army. Shocked and not. Sorry, that's a Cold War humor joke for you there.
Relevant.
Sorry, I'm ruining this podcast. Yeah, I'm happy.
Vietnam
for
will
this.
always be relevant on this podcast, Adam. Don't you feel ashamed about anything. We know what you had to do, what you boys had to do against the...
Anyway,
No. I was fighting for the Viet Cong.
Oh,
Yeah.
really
mean,
showing
fuck.
those white devils who's boss, eh?
Well, I mean, they were invading my country.
Yeah,
Their
fair
country.
enough.
Shit.
Here's what, a
you,
little
Roy.
flashback to what we said about James Gunn here back
Speaking
on
of
the
flashbacks.
on the the podcast. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember that we played Warframe. And
the Pixel Junkies podcast.
yeah, the PixelJunkies podcast. The thing I said about James Gunn at the time was
Joke
that
of the night from Andrew.
I wouldn't have fired him, but I totally support Disney's right to decide who they want to associate with. I won't tell them how to run their company. That being said, now I like James Gunn directing Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That alone I like. I'm not huge on companies firing people and then rehiring them. It's weird. That makes me uncomfortable, to be honest. It's
Apparently,
like,
what happened here is Bob Igor was
pronounced Igor?
told. That's not his real name.
So I was
What is it? Igor?
Yeah, it was,
What is his
yeah.
name?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Bob Iger. The guy that owns
Sure.
Disney.
Sure, why not? What's up,
He
Bob?
was told that the decision to fire James Gunn was unanimous. By which I mean the board of people that, decide huge decisions. Because Bob owns Disney. He can't be expected to make all the decisions. He was told that the decision to fire James Gunn was unanimous. Like it was for Roseanne Barr.
Right, yeah.
This was a lie. This was not correct. It was not unanimous. But Bob said, he was told it was unanimous, and Bob said, okay, do what you gotta do. So they fired James Gunn.
Yes, I understand.
So who
And
lied?
then I guess it came to light to, for Bob, that, it wasn't unanimous. Hire this guy back.
Okay,
Let's get him back so we
that's-
can continue making money.
That's not so bad. The way I had it pictured was they fired him. Then there was backlash, then they fired him, and then there was backlash for firing him, so they rehired him, which just shows that you're a mess. But this actually shows that you're a mess in a completely different way, which is
Right.
that your company can't accurately report a vote to you. the your own company, which like it's not like 1,000 people voted on this, right? There were four guys in a room deciding it, and they couldn't even convey the information accurately.
That's got to be
That's
like
a disaster.
the Imperial officer who had to report the destruction of the first Death Star to Palpatine. They were like, Palpatine's like, so how is my Death Star going? Operations and proceeding as planned. Yeah, everything's going perfectly. No need to check up on it. Yep, made the phone call for you this morning. Yep, definitely still there. Yep, blew up Yavin. Good. Yep. Yep. Rebels are all dead. Yep. I don't believe you necessarily. I don't know why, but there's something suspicious about your voice. No, it's all there. Yep. I don't know why I did that bit there. Sorry.
No, it was good. It sets the stage because Bob Igor is the Emperor. Bob Iger, however, is the president of Disney.
What an apocalyptic thing.
Hey, I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do a great job.
Because I think now that he's back, hopefully Dave Bautista will come back and be dragged.
I was just thinking that. I think that the film
Did he
seemed like
leave?
they.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Wait,
Okay.
I
I thought he said he was gonna leave if they didn't use James Gunn's script.
But I think. Oh, maybe that was it. I might have the story wrong. But I mean,
So I don't know if that was definitive or not yet. And
well, they're
presumably
definitely using
now
his script now, so
yeah.
that's good. And I think these movies sort of they feel like they probably belong with him, and it seems like the people he worked with really like him. I'm not the world's biggest Guardians of the Galaxy fan, but I'm sure that it'll be the best it can be with him.
Yeah, I mean they're great movies. The first and second one I would say are level pecking in terms of quality. So fucking just let him do another one. Who gives a shit if he made some tasteless jokes like 10 years ago?
Anyway, much like how Guardians and James Gunn seem to synergize very well, something else that has a lot of synergy is Jump Force and Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh!
So
Rory, I would say that segue was so labored it lost all of its life points.
So if you
hurry up
don't
and talk about
know,
this.
so Jump Force, so that there's no, it's called a fighting game, but it's not a fighting game, right? It's a
What
game
the
with
fuck
fighting
is Jump
in it.
Force and why the hell is
That's
it
what
a
I'm getting
Kaiba?
to. It's a fighting game, but it's not like a classic traditional like 2D or 3D 1v1 fighting game. It's a game with fighting in it. We don't have a good word for these kind of games yet.
Is it kind of like Xenoverse?
It's closer to Xenoverse than it is an actual fighting game, if that's what you mean. Like it's in that vein.
What do you mean it's not a fighting game?
Like
what
it's
else are you
not
doing
like
it?
it's not like Tekken or anything like that. It's not like how can I like
You mean it's not like an esports fighting game? It's just kind of a
there's a game with it's an action
hanging
game,
around with your dick
right?
out fighting game.
It's an action game. It happens that the fighting has a lot of hand-to-hand combat in it, right, as opposed to weapons. But it's not like a classic fighting game. Like I don't think the Jump Force guys are studying their frame data. You know what I mean?
Are there
So-
Jump Force
so-
guys?
You're
So
gonna
would
get a
you-
lot of angry emails, Rory.
Yeah, right.
Nah, nobody
So
gives
is
a fuck about
UFC
what
a
we have to
fighting
say.
game, Roy?
What? No, UFC is
UFC
not a fighting game.
Okay,
it's,
so
it's,
that's
it's
where
a
we're
sports
breaking it
game.
apart
The
here.
sport happens to be fighting, but it's no more fighting game than MLB The Show.
I would completely disagree. So a fighting game to Rory needs to have matrix graphs and shit.
It needs
in
to have actual fighting game components. It needs to have actual punishment.
Does
right?
it?
Yes.
Because last I checked,
absolutely.
Mario Kart is a racing game, but so is Project Cars.
Yes, but the
Mario
key
Kart is
component
not a
of it is
fighting
still
game,
racing. The key component of it is still racing. The key component of Jump Force is
Yes,
not.
but you
block
also
Can I
punishment.
fight
stop
in
everybody
UFC.
right here? We're an
Yeah.
hour and 10 minutes in this fucking podcast. We're getting hung up
Yeah.
on semantics. Let's move the fuck on.
Okay, so Jump,
Yes, but
the
I
point,
think it's worth pointing out. UFC is a fighting game. All you do in it is fight.
I don't
It's a
think
fighting game.
I think it lacks too many of the essential mechanics of fighting games to be considered an actual fighting game.
Well,
The-
Roy's wrong again. Moving
so,
on.
Kaiba, if y'all watch Yu-Gi-Oh, which I know everybody here does, and
Hmm?
Thomas and Tyrese, who are both watching, they all watch Yu-Gi-Oh.
Who?
Thomas and Tyrese.
fuck
Tyrese,
is
he watches all the
Tyrese
podcasts.
Gibson?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's him.
Oh, that's what he does in between fast movies.
That's right. He
Gotcha.
watches Pixel Junkies podcast. I'm
How's it
surprised
going?
you're not familiar with this lore.
Welcome
But,
along, Tyrese.
I would
Good to
fucking
have you.
hate if he was if it was the only other fan of this.
Oh,
That's great.
You don't like Tyrese?
He's all right.
He's
I don't
got
mean
those.
to be dissing our
He's got
fans
those
or
songs no one's ever listened to. They're
music?
great. Yeah, that's what he does. He's a musician.
anything. Oh, okay.
He
I thought
happens
Ludacris
to
was a
act a
musician.
little bit.
I thought he just drove Camaros into tanks or whatever.
He's more a musician than he is an act. He's more famous now for being an actor, but he got his start in music, right? And,
Anyway, on the Seto Kaiba.
yeah, Kaiba. So Kaiba's a character in Yu-Gi-Oh, very popular character and very popular.
He's the best character.
Franchise. He's arguably the best character, insofar as most of the characters are shit.
Oh man, are we talking about Captain Marvel?
He's going to be in Jump Force, which I think is a good addition. I'm surprised he wasn't. Oh, well, I guess they probably had it planned forever that he was going to be in Jump Force, right? It seems like a logical. So he's going to be a DLC along with Light Yagami and
Is that
Ryuk
the one
from
with
Death
like
Note.
a $900 season
Light
pass?
Yagami.
Yeah, from Death Note. You ever see Death Note?
So we got this game is so fucking stupid. Like I get that Yagami can like kill anybody with his notebook, but I like to see him going like a physical fighting competition up against like Goku or
Yeah, but so
whatever.
Ryuk is also in it. I don't know if it's one of those like classic fighting game situations where it's like a guy but he has the other guy with him. Like there's sometimes 2-player teams in non-tag
Oh, okay.
games,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh. Yeah.
So maybe it's like Light behind him with a book or something.
was his
I don't
name?
know. Light Yagami, Death Note.
Oh.
Oh,
You know,
I fucking hate Death Note.
I love Death Note, but that's okay.
I
The
said
I
monogamy
like
or
Death
something.
Note too.
I forgot that Andrew actually watched all of Death Note. Like not
Yeah.
entirely
The live
long
action
ago.
one?
Hey,
No, I
both
haven't seen
actually.
that.
I thought you watched it because you wanted to watch the live action one.
I did, and then I realized maybe I don't need to watch the live action one.
Fair.
It's got Willem
fair.
Dafoe in it.
I know
Yeah.
that's the only hang up here because I think the effect looked decent and the trailer for Death Note live action was actually pretty good. So
But the premise of Jump Force is that, there's a lot of different characters from a lot of different things. There's obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Naruto, Bleach, blah, blah, blah. Lots of anime shit. So it's an anime game where you don't collect all the waifus, which is kind of interesting.
To be honest, I will be very excited to summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon when I get 3 of them.
You
Is
know
that
his
Australian?
super... is Yu-Gi-Oh! Super like summoning Exodia or something?
No, it's Slifer.
Oh,
He summoned Slifer, the executive producer,
Oh man.
which incidentally is why that card is called Slifer, because it was named after the executive producer of 4Kids, whose name is the executive producer of fucking 4Kids in the early 2000s. His name was Slifer. Slifer.
Yeah,
His
that
name was
sounds a little
Slifer. Like, that guy is evil, right? Like, that's an evil name.
bad. No, that's Dora.
And that's Swiper. Swiper, no swiping.
Same fucking thing.
No, it's
Aaron.
not.
Yeah, how's it going, Rory?
Aaron, about a month ago, me and some friends bought the Division 1, and we've been playing it, and you played the Division 2. What was it like?
Well, I'm playing it right now, Rory. Right at this very moment.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, it came out. It came out today officially, and I've been playing it. I probably have about 30 hours in it at this point, so I've been playing it a nice bit. Same sort of impressions from the beta. If you like the first game, I guess, then you will like this one. A lot of the changes. It pretty much has everything from the first game, except everything has been expanded upon and either gotten rid of or improved or just straight up fleshed out. In terms of just a shooter game, the mechanics are great. I really like the narrative. To me anyway, it has one of the best atmospheres. I don't think I've experienced a game that has an atmosphere as dripping wet as this game. Every environment you go to is so detailed and so, like, rather than it just everything being overgrown and destroyed like you would expect from a kind of an apocalypse scenario, the environments really tell a story, and it's really cool to see how everything is pieced together.
Environments in Fallout tell a story, Aaron.
They do.
Yeah, like
that's not direct.
We fucking released this game too early.
That's not direct shot. It's a different kind of disaster. That's not taking shots directly at Fallout. I think a lot of the stuff in that is maybe more limitations of the engine. In this, I feel like the fidelity is much higher, and you just, because it takes place in the real world, literally 1-to-1 scale, Washington D.C. I feel like that has a bigger impact. Because you can see, like, toys left on the ground and just scenarios where people had to drop everything and leave, and just like some areas in the dark zone where there's just like body bags fucking piled up and they're all just like starting to melt, and it's just there's a very immediate and direct impression of just shit really hit the fan here. I've never really gotten the sense in any other game before, the stakes, like how high stakes everything is in this game. Like, you can see the world has completely fallen apart. There's nothing left. Everybody's gone to shit. Even the people who are left to protect this world, like a lot of the different militia PMCs and stuff that were run by, like, hired by the different governments and stuff to protect the world, have kind of turned on themselves now. And really, the Division are like the only, even just some of the Division, some Division agents have turned against the agency themselves, and it's just so chaotic. It's awesome to see, like, in the just how, I don't know, the importance of everything. It's really great to see an apocalypse scenario that is somewhat like realistic. Not necessarily in the way the game plays, but in the way it's portrayed. In terms of the story, I like that. It's not super well written. Some of the voice acting is bad, and some of the like collectible tapes and shit that you pick up. Some of it's just like not good.
Is Garrus Vakarian still your gun or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
He's not your gun, but he's like your AI voice thing. A lot of connections with the first game, sort of acknowledging the events that happened in New York 7 months ago. Beyond that, yeah, it's a really good experience. If you
I don't know if
looks interesting, I would say try it out. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever talked about this on the podcast. I think I mentioned to other people, but when I was playing this on the first one on the PS4 with Sandy, we had a headcanon going that it was just that there was no apocalyptic event, that this was just the government finally realizing that this is what New Yorkers is like, so they're sending in like agents to try and stabilize New York, and New Yorkers are like, "Good morning! Fucking hell of a weather we're having lately." He's like, "Oh my god, there's no power. You're slaughtering each other in the streets." Like, yeah, the Yankees lost last night, but what can you do? They're down.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really good. The mechanics all work really great. Massively improved over the first one, like I was saying. There are a couple of bugs, none of them major. There was one game-breaking one that they fixed, and that had to do with if you were launching multiple copies of the game on the same network, it caused an issue where it wouldn't let you launch. But I believe that's been fixed now. Other than that, mostly just kind of weird visual bugs. And it's crashed once or twice, though. It's been patched earlier in the week, and I haven't had it crash since, so that's probably fixed now as well. Runs really great, looks really good. The photo mode in it is awesome. I'm glad they added that. The multiplayer all worked straight out of the box. No real big network errors or anything like that. And I guess one of the two improvements I'll highlight. One is the dark zone, which was previously the PvP zone. That still sort of works the same way, where it's, I wouldn't say consensual, but in order to PvP, you need to go rogue, which kind of informs people in the immediate area that it's possible for this individual to kill you at any moment. So I kind of like that. And then I guess the biggest change is they've added a lot of stuff to do for PvE players. So if you like just playing by yourself, not necessarily engaging in PvP, then that's still something you can do. There's a lot more gear that you can get without really having to dick around too much. In the first game, everything you got in the Dark Zone had to be extracted, and once it was extracted, or in the process of extracting it, other people could come and attack you, and that was generally like, hey, go attack this person. Now you can get a lot of gear. In fact, most of the gear I would say you can just pick up and keep. As soon as you pick it up, it's yours. Nobody can kill you for it, which is nice because you can get some pretty decent gear in the Dark Zone. And I feel like that also improves the sort of just general experience of the Dark Zone, because I've encountered a lot of people in the Dark Zone. Most of them want to group up and just hang out and like just run around and shoot people together rather than engaging in PvP. And the normalization that they introduced in the PvP areas now has made engaging in PvP a lot more viable for even just level 1 characters. So no matter what weapons you have, once you enter a PvP zone, it brings them up to an average normalized level, so that everybody, regardless of level, is playing on the same field. And I think that's really cool. So it kind of makes PvP a bit more enjoyable for those who don't min-max the shit out of builds, which was a problem in the first game. And the second one that I really like, amongst many, many changes, is they call it the Deck of 52. I think they're called Snitch cards, which sort of halfway through the story of the game, they start introducing world bosses. And there are 52 of them that...
Like Mercenaries. Remember that game?
I do remember that game.
Did that have a card
game.
thing?
Yeah. All the I guess main world bosses were a stack of cards.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where they got the idea then? Was that an Ubisoft game?
I think the idea comes from an actual thing. Maybe in either Korea or Vietnam.
Oh, maybe.
They had a deck of cards.
Speaking of Vietnam.
Yeah.
Anyway, it works the same way. You can kill the bosses, pick up their card. Once you complete a suit, then you get a reward. And then once you kill all 52, it generates 52 more enemies for you to go kill. Which, effectively, I think it generates more world bosses once you've finished the story mode. So that gives you some end-game stuff to do. If you want to keep playing after you finish the story, then you can go and do that.
But there's not really any reason to do it other than gear.
Yeah, I guess other than gear, I suppose.
If they just reset after you do it, what's the point of doing it?
I think once you reach the end game, a fourth faction sort of invades the world space.
Yeah,
and,
Thanos.
Yeah. So throughout the story of the game, there are 3 main enemy factions that you effectively more or less wipe off the map. You do all these missions to sort of close down a lot of their strangleholds on different regions of the city, and then once you have enough of them destroyed, or you've done enough story missions and you're a high enough level, you can go and confront their stronghold. I'm pretty sure you can go and confront their stronghold whenever you want, but it's a very high level area and you'll probably get your ass handed to you. So then once you clear all 3 strongholds and finish the story, a fourth faction invades, and they're like a super high level end game faction that sort of mixes the story up a bit more to kind of give it a narrative reason to do something after the main story finishes, and not have it just be the same 3 factions fighting you over and over again. So I believe the 52 enemies it generates after the first 52 are from the fourth faction.
This is something that Destiny could have... Holy... Fuck! Don't come back to me! Holy shit!
Anyway, in
That's
terms
something
of
Destiny could have.
Oh yeah, it's something Destiny could have done. In terms of games that are looter shooters, I think that's really cool. If it's an RPG or something, then, like Andrew's saying, yeah, there's a bit of a reason, what's the point of doing it if it just keeps happening over and over again? But in this type of game, these are games where people rush to the end game to start, making different loadouts. It really, on the same level for Rory as Tekken, where it's the fucking fighting matrices and the moves and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's sort of this level for fans of this type of genre, where they can just min-max different things and find different gear and stuff. So
You get really into the stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was super into the stats and creating different builds and stuff.
Borderlands is the same way, definitely.
Yeah. Compared to the first game, which had world bosses, but there was only 15 of them, and they were generated on a timer, and they didn't really reward you with anything other than an increased chance to drop legendary items. there wasn't really anything for solo players to do once you finished the main story other than running story missions again. And so I guess Massive, the studio that made the game, they realized, like, okay, the story is great and people like that, but there's not a whole lot of content for the bulk of our audience right now. So it's great that we still have this long narrative and there's some really cool story missions and you still get that sort of arc of taking control of the city. But at the same time, introduce a fourth faction that is, comparative to an end game player, gives it a narrative reason to make sense other than the same three factions just becoming super powerful now. And with the 52 bosses, the changes to the Dark Zone, and the sort of invaded missions where you can essentially replay the same levels again in terms of the same areas, but with new objectives and new bosses that are randomly generated after you play them the first time. I think that's really great for those people. So, like, if you want to min-max a build and look at the stats, there are now many, many, many ways to do that rather than just kind of doing the same thing over and over again, whichever statistically has the highest chance. So I really like that.
This is something that Destiny could really use, both Destiny 1 and 2's, because once you got to the end game, there wasn't anything to do that didn't require 5 other people knowing, like, having the game and you knowing them, which was very annoying. So, and eventually Destiny 1 got there, but you had to buy $100 worth of DLC, content in order to get there. It didn't come with the base game. That 50, the fact that a fourth faction appears in the end game and is exclusive to the end game is something that Destiny really could have used, because the end game is fucking dry as hell, especially in Destiny 2, which even the DLC for that game has been lackluster. We've only gotten 3 bits of DLC, and like I can only even think of one of them off the top of my head, and they're all really, really, really bad. Yeah, we could have. There's just stuff that we could have used in that game to make it better.
I'm looking forward to the DLC. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm glad to see that at least one of these games is doing this properly.
Yeah, it does, and it seems like I've played a little bit of Anthem. I don't think it was terrible. It really wasn't on the Divisions level. But it seems like a lot of people that I've seen in the global chat of the game are talking about how they were Anthem players and how this game is what they were looking for.
Division has global chat?
Yeah.
Wow. That must be a nightmare.
Oh, you can turn it off. You can mute it.
No, but I mean, I watch streams sometimes that have thousands of viewers, and that's pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't know how they limit it, but anyway, it doesn't seem to be too out of hand. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just per instance or something. I don't know.
I hope it is, for the sake of everybody.
Maybe. But in terms of DLC, because you mentioned it, Adam, the first DLC that's coming out for this game that we know about, and all of the DLC for the first year anyway will be free, so that's nice. The first one will be a massive stronghold for that fourth faction, which is actually in the Pentagon, so it's going to be really cool to go and see that place, because that's currently not an area on the map.
Strongholds are like raids, are they?
I guess they're kind of like mini raids, because there's also a raid they're adding to the game. But they're just like, I guess, like normal levels, but longer and harder and bigger. So they're like turbo levels. So I'm really looking forward to checking that. I think it's called Tidal Basin. That'll be coming out in probably a couple weeks, maybe a month. Not super long after launch. But that's going to be really cool.
Sounds interesting. Aaron, the Division 2 wasn't the only new game this week, was it, Rory?
No, it was not. So, on Friday morning, I had already preloaded Devil May Cry 5. And then the work week from hell started, and I haven't gotten to play it
Oh, that's
yet.
how it works. That's how it works.
It's been a week. I'm dying. My buddy Trev messaged me the next day at like 2 in the afternoon. And he was like, "Hey, Rory, like, how far are you? I just beat it." I was like, I haven't started. I won't get to start till next week. So I'm actually going to start. I think I have a bit of breathing room tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to start then. and I just I just wanted to mention it so the next time I'm on, I can actually talk about how good it is because I'll have beaten it by then.
Cool.
I'm looking
Join
forward
us
to it
next
for good
time
things.
for DMC 5.
Sorry, I was about to do a transition, but I forgot that Andrew was doing the transitions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you took over for the Division 2, so why not take over now? Fuck me.
Andrew's just doing a really good impersonation of Captain Marvel where you kind of forget he was doing a thing.
Aaron.
How's it going? Oh, God,
The
I don't
Division
know anything
2.
about this.
The Division 2 is on Steam, correct? You're playing it on Steam?
Technically, yes, because I've added the shortcut to Steam. But
Wait, you
no.
didn't buy it on Steam?
No, it's not on Steam.
It's
I bought
not
it
on Steam?
I
What
bought
is it on?
I bought it on Uplay.
Oh. But is it available anywhere else? Say I don't like Uplay.
Well, there's one other place you can get it, and that would be the Epic Store.
Woo! All right, everybody dab. Everybody dab right now.
Yeah. and bring up the color changing scene in Captain
That's
Marvel.
my secret, Rory. I'm always dabbing.
So,
Help, please.
so the Epic Games Store,
Can't
Andrew,
stop.
Andrew, like, I don't think it could have been said any better than Andrew said it a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I wasn't on, but
Oh, I thought
Andrew-
you meant just now.
No. Andrew said that what he didn't like about the Epic Games Store was that it was only competing on the money, and it wasn't competing on the features. And I thought that was a great point. And if you're maybe wondering why Epic Games doesn't want to include a lot of the features people want, maybe it's because the features people want are unreasonable. So says the director of publishing for Epic Games, who's apparently a huge dickhead. And we can't. I don't want to quote him because his quotes are all translated, right?
Right.
So I don't know what's lost in translation and what isn't. I'm a little surprised.
Good movie
that-
starring Scarlett Johansson.
It is a good movie.
Isn't that Tom Hanks in that also?
Nope.
Oh, I'm thinking of Terminal.
Yeah, you are thinking of Terminal. Yeah.
He should have had cancer too. That would have been great.
Yeah, we're talking about the one with. We're talking about the other Tom Hanks movie.
I think. So
Captain Marvel?
I've got a question. Why is Epic Games
No,
director
Philadelphia.
of publishing?
Oh.
Like I'm okay with him being like a guy who types in some language that's in the Cyrillic alphabet, but I'm surprised that the director of publishing makes all his tweets in some language that's in the Cyrillic alphabet. Anyone else surprised by that?
No.
Why would I be surprised by that? Can he not be from wherever he is? Ukraine, Russia?
No, he can. I'm just surprised that he responds to like that's how he makes statements about the company.
Oh, fair enough.
He can be
You
from
know what?
where
Epic Games is a very multi-racial and diverse.
Oh yeah, I
studio
understand.
and
Like
company.
I understand like hiring him, having him around. I'm just surprised that on his public Twitter account, that he communicate that for a company that is, headquartered in North Carolina, that the director of publishing, which is a very public position, is doing his tweets in another language.
Well,
He's just speaking
maybe they've
North
got.
Carolinese.
Yeah, maybe it's North Carolina. Maybe it's Syria. Maybe it's like 49% Chinese government, which is exactly what Epic Games is. So
None of those, by the way, use the Cyrillic alphabet, but that's all right.
Yeah,
I don't know what uses the Cyrillic alphabet. now?
Russian.
East
Russia.
European and Russian.
That's what I meant.
But
when I
yeah,
said
I'm
I
not
shouldn't have said
surprised.
Syria.
I'm
I
not
should have
surprised
said
that he's
something
from a different place. But yeah, that's interesting to me. And so all his tweets have to be translated, which means that we can't. I don't know. It means I don't know what he said. Really, because a lot of it's lost in translation. But the general picture of what he said was that he thought that the gamers were entitled to things they weren't entitled to. Which is a strange attitude to me, because to me, if you pay for a product, you're entitled, hopefully, for a good product. Apparently, I'm wrong. How about that? Because
How does
the
it
Epic,
feel, Rory?
the Epic
How does it
Games
feel to be
Store,
on terms with us, with the rest of us mortals?
Epic Games, the Epic Games Store is not good, and they're only now rolling out features that they should have had before they ever started to compete.
Like what?
Like cloud saves and things like that. They're targeting that cloud saves for May. Mod support for games is targeted in the next 4 to 6 months. Probably never happen. There's no shopping cart.
Wait, you can't add things to a cart and bulk buy? You have to buy them.
There is no, like, they've said that in the next in the long term they're planning on adding a shopping cart. I don't know what that means.
That seems like a very critical thing to have for like an online store.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's no gifting, for instance. You can give Steam gifts to your friends. There's no user reviews. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yep.
It's just bad. But it has a lot of money, right? And I don't like this at all.
By the way, Steam gift sounds like something that you would give like a steampunk cosplay enthusiast.
Yeah.
Like, oh, boy howdy, I got some good Steam gifts for you. Check out these brass goggles. I don't know.
How in the world do you not, like, I don't even, like, if you should look at I'm going to drop the list, the Trello list here in the Discord chat. You guys can have a look at the features they're planning on rolling out.
Wait. Epic has a Trello board?
Yeah.
Is it their actual board, or is it some, like, fan board?
No, this is theirs. This is their, I believe this is their
God.
actual formal public. You can check it out.
This is a
Epic
billion-dollar
Games
company.
What is Trello?
It's like a fucking brainstorming organization board for a bunch of people.
Oh.
It just seems really dumb that a multi-billion-dollar company would have a fucking Trello board. Not their own proprietary loot box board or whatever.
Achievements
yeah, it's really
in
weird.
the long-term goal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, achievements are in the long term.
Oh man, I can't wait to buy achievements.
We won't have an actual overlay for 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. Also, if cloud saves...
Player time tracking, 4 to 6 months. Wish lists, 4 to 6 months.
One of my
I feel
favorite
like-
ones, I like...
I feel like they jumped
search
the
by
gun on the
genre.
launch of this fucking thing.
They have
These
store
are the-
search now. They just implemented search, but you can't search by genre or tag.
Yeah.
Sweet.
What,
Name only.
Honestly,
What's the
why would
point
they
of tags?
need? Why would they need any of these features when they can just pay for exclusivity on their store?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think
There
it's
you
worth
go.
noting that if you don't have cloud saves, stop. Don't put in cloud saves. You're done. You're done. That's like having a streaming service and having no way to know where you left off in the show. Right? You're
Yeah.
watching a TV show, you're in the 4th season, fuck you. You don't know where you are. You better remember all the episodes of the TV shows you're watching. The Epic Games is the store is trash. The company makes very good engines, and they do a really good job of that. And there's kind of no way around that. Oh wait,
Yeah,
what?
I like
They're
their
talking
game
about the
engine,
Steam
but-
thing. Andrew, talk about the Steam thing. This is fun.
Yeah, so still on Epic Games, some people have discovered that when you, I guess, first start up your machine, the Epic Game Store, I guess, searches for a certain file from Steam, a certain encrypted file called localconfig.vdf. This contains your friends list and your recently played games and all this whatnot. So Steam or Valve came out with a response to this.
What does it
we-
do?
Huh?
What does it do once it finds
It's
this?
data. It's just data.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's just mining the data. It's not doing anything.
Yeah, but it's mining
Kinda,
data about you.
No.
Your friends.
That sounded like I was being very dismissive. I wasn't, but I was assuming it was going to then like upload viruses and
No.
like,
It
fucking
doesn't. It doesn't
flyers
like
to your-
remote download ROMs for you or something like that. It just.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Valve spokesperson responded to this thing. They said, "We are looking into what information the Epic Launcher collects from Steam. The Steam client locally saves data, such as the list of games you own, your friends list, and saved login tokens, similar to information stored in web browser cookies. This is private user data stored on the user's home machine and is not intended to be used by other programs or uploaded to any third-party service.
You know what I think is a good idea when you don't intend for something to be used by other programs is you might want to try encrypting it.
Yeah.
Just a thought, Steam. I don't know. Might want to give that a go.
From my understanding,
Gabe's
this
been
is-
living in a perfect world.
Now, Rory, it is encrypted, but the key to break is just 2. All right, let's try 0000001. All right, 0000002. Holy fuck, that's got it. Can you imagine being the person brute forcing that and getting it on the second try? Like, holy shit, I hacked Steam. Oh my god, the best hacker ever. Download the modem.
I wonder if that's ever happened. You get like a 64-character string of text for a fucking encryption code, and then some dude guesses it on the first fucking try.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Perfect.
All right, launching nukes.
That was gonna take 9 million years to crack. I got it.
Anyway, Epic responded to this as well, saying, "We only import your Steam friends with your explicit permission. The launcher makes an encrypted local copy of your local config.vdf Steam file. However, information from this file is only sent to Epic if you choose to import your Steam friends. And then only hashed IDs of your friends are sent, and no other information from the file."
That voice sounds like it belongs to a Jim Henson deep lore character.
Also, I want to point out that if it was really with your explicit permission and only if you said it, then people wouldn't be surprised when it was happening to them.
I'm sure
You know
it's,
what I'm
it's
talking
done
about?
with your express permission the same way that Apple's allowed to sew people's faces to other people's assholes when you click on those end-of-line user agreements.
I'm
Right.
sure this is hidden in some line of what are they called?
End-of-line user agreements.
End user
Yeah.
license agreements is the
whatever.
EULA. The
I'm not a nerd, Rory.
I
I'm in
think,
fact
sure
probably
this
the
is
biggest nerd
very
in this
deep.
group.
I think
Somewhere.
I think that also the I love the the information only goes to us. It's like, yeah, that's my problem. You. the I don't want it to go to you. That's
Yeah.
I don't know you. Who are you?
It's like a pirate robbing a ship, being like, "Don't worry, all of your plunder is only going to go on our ship." It's like, that's the whole problem with this current transaction.
yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
off.
The problem is I'm losing it. The problem isn't who I'm losing it to necessarily. It's that it's going to somebody. It happens to be you. You're the problem.
So I read something interesting about the board of directors at Epic Games.
Yeah.
So the Epic Games launcher is 49% owned by Tencent,
That is true.
which is a Chinese thing.
Did you say 10 cents? Like
No,
10
Tencent. The-
10
Oh, okay.
cent. Yeah.
with ties to the Chinese government. We've got 2 members.
They're a
sorry,
Chinese
we've got-
company. They have ties to the Chinese government.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Anyway, there are 2 board of directors from Tencent. There are 2 board of directors from Epic Games. And then there's another, one more board member. I meant members on the board of directors. They're not separate boards of directors. There's a 5th member on the board of directors, which is part of a third-party thing. They're also an investor, but they're not tied to either Tencent or Epic Games. And
Weirdly
then
enough, I know who that is. It's L'Oreal.
yeah, that's right. Anyway, we've got 2, 2, and 1, right? Really, to really change anything, Tencent, the only thing Tencent has to do is persuade that one guy to go along with their
Right, yeah.
request, right? And they can overrule anything that Epic Games wants.
In order to get that guy to change, all you got to do is write him at his email. The president of China does not look like Winnie the Pooh. Google.
I dropped
Most of those words would be censored in China.
I just dropped a link to the one of the founders of Tencent's Wikipedia pages in the Discord. Does anyone want to explain to me why they picked that picture?
That's the picture on his YouTube page?
On his
Or, not
Wikipedia.
YouTube,
On his
Oh, it's on
Wikipedia,
YouTube.
that's the picture.
It's
Huatang?
like
know,
a hand drawn sketch that someone drew on a page of a book that they tore out.
You know,
Yeah.
he was walking through New York City, and one of those guys in Central Park was like, "Hey, I'll draw your funny caricature." And he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna splurge on myself. I'm in the mood for this."
Anyway, I don't know Ma Huatang. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Yeah, you know,
But I mean, it's still China we're talking about. And
Can I be honest with you? I don't want
It's
any
all
company,
very sketchy.
regardless of if they're affiliated with the government or not. Even if they were affiliated with the Canadian government, I don't want any company to be able to access that kind of information on my my fucking computer without my consent.
Well, not from another company anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean that stuff is all tied to your Steam account. It's your Steam friends and it's your the games you're playing on Steam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
With Epic accessing that data, they're looking at what you're playing. So they're going to be looking at what games, what studios do we target for exclusivity? They're going to be looking at your friends lists. What are they playing? What do we target for exclusivity? How can we draw them to our platform? It's that kind of stuff.
You could be amazed at what you'd figure out too with that.
Yeah.
You could probably figure out who you are.
Honestly.
It's effectively like free, like a massive amount of free marketing material without having any install base of actual users.
That's the thing. It's not. Yeah, it's the marketing of which Steam is totally free to do because it's their platform. But it's going in and getting other people's config files and stuff like that is, I don't know. I don't like that at all. I can see why they did it though, because to be honest, I don't want to blame Valve for this, but this could have been avoided. Entirely.
I mean, encrypt the file.
Yeah,
honestly.
Jesus. Yeah, come on.
If Valve's not gonna take games that are actively uploading malware onto their site, if they're not gonna do something about that actively, except for taking the games off after they've proven to be a problem, then they're probably not gonna fucking encrypt this config
That's a good
file. They're
point.
probably gonna have to bootstrap your own solution to this or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. The
Or just delete Epic launcher from your computer.
guys, there's been some news this week that has made a lot of people really happy, and it's earned some goodwill in the face of honestly a rocky console generation for Microsoft. Halo is coming to Steam, and not only is it it was coming to PC was the first news, and then the fact that it was coming to Steam is a very surprising addition to that.
Yeah.
And
On
I
top
feel,
of Reach coming with that whole collection.
yes, and I feel this happening around the same time that Blizzard is releasing games on GOG. It's it feels like some companies are trying to buy back some goodwill now.
Yeah.
Which benefits us
Maybe we
in the
pushed
immediate.
everybody way too far. And
Yeah.
we're headed for another crash in the industry. Maybe let's take a step back and look at what people actually want.
Yeah, and people have wanted this for a while. And I'm not a big
15
Halo
years.
guy, but I do think Halo is really cool, and I've enjoyed the Halo that I've played. So, yeah, it's going
The
to be...
idea here is to release the games in chronological order, I guess. So Reach is coming out first,
Right.
and then it'll be the first, the second, the third, ODST, and then 4. No word on 5 yet. I guess they're waiting to see how this collection does.
But isn't
on
6
PC?
coming out on PC?
No word on 6 either.
I thought it was confirmed
Or
that
Infinite.
that Infinite was on PC.
Oh, maybe it was. I haven't really been paying attention.
Yeah, it's listed here.
I
Yeah.
really know about Infinite is that it's rumored to be a launch title for the next Xbox.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, well, they're
If it's a
listing
launch
PC as
title,
a platform.
it won't be coming to PC until about, I'd say, a year after or 2 years after.
Oh, they're not launching on both?
I don't know about that. I feel like Phil Spencer has mentioned in the past that he wants all Xbox games to be on PC now, and he's done that with some of their exclusive. Forza is a great example, where they have the Play Anywhere feature. If you buy it on Xbox or PC, you can play it on either whenever you want.
Phil
So I
Spencer
wouldn't be
has something
surprised
in
if Halo
common.
does the same thing.
Phil Spencer has something in common with the people at Sony in that he wants people to stop buying Xboxes.
This savage coming from Rory. Jesus
Well,
Christ.
I think what Phil has managed to convince all the other Tencent board of directors at Microsoft is that the PC audience is a big one, and ignoring them is a bad idea when porting a game, which should be, relatively straightforward affair in terms of how much money that company deals with. The amount of money they stand to make by marketing a game to a PC audience is monumental.
Yeah, agreed.
Particularly in a climate where we have Fortnites and Overwatches and shit like that on PC. So,
By the way, if Halo 6 ends up being a battle royale, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind.
I heard it's not going to be one.
Good.
Dude, are you excited
Not
for the
at launch.
Souls Battle Royale, Adam?
The what?
They didn't. Apparently, there was this interview with one of the main people behind the Souls games, and he said he hasn't ruled out doing like a multiplayer style, like live service game in the future.
Well, actually, that could be as long as it's not a first-person shooter. It would be interesting to see like a battle royale that isn't a first-person shooter, like using the Souls mechanics, like gameplay mechanics.
I agree with you.
In that kind of a multiplayer space, because Dark Souls 3 already has limited multiplayer, like PvP, and it would
Yes,
be
that's
interesting to
true.
see what they could
Yeah.
do with like big maps and big teams and that sort of stuff. That might actually be interesting.
Now,
It could
now
be
with
what-
that in mind, I want you to picture the monetization.
Actually, that being said, From Software is usually not a dick about that kind of stuff.
But
So
From
you will
Software
about
doesn't
Dark-
publish the game.
not yet.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, like, there's been no microtransactions in any of their games thus far.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, and Namco, honestly, there'd be opportunity for that. They've been bizarre about some games before, but they're kind of like a complicated company like Capcom, and that sometimes Bandai Namco seems like the best company ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like Capcom right now is doing really well. Like it's like people playing RE2 and it's amazing, and it's like damn, like
Mega Man 15's coming out soon.
Capcom's like really and of course the Devil May Cry 5 just came out.
15.
Actually, it'd be more like Mega Man 30, wouldn't it?
Should make different games.
Anyway, good news for Steam all around. We got Halo coming, and
That's
they've
right.
announced some
Yes.
changes to a few things. They're bringing out a couple new APIs,
Yes.
targeting, I guess, ping, stuff like that. Rory, do you know anything about this? So
I
don't
know a
have to
bit.
talk
I know
about it.
like a little bit about this. So basically, like Steam Steam emerged as a way for Valve to get out its games, right? But even though now it's still a general storefront, there's been a lot of stuff that Valve has just used for their own games, right? Like Valve has certain networking functionality and whatnot that they just use for their own games. So now, like my understanding is that they're putting out an API to give like smaller developers a little more ability to
What's an
access
APA?
the API. Is
API,
like
sorry.
it's like I'm trying to think of like a way. So let's say you wanted to get a bunch of it stands for Application Programming Interface, but that's not important. Let's say you wanted to get a bunch of data from Twitter, Adam, for whatever
Yeah.
reason. You wanted to data mine Twitter. So you would get an API which would have these functionalities like get followers from a user. So you'd type in a user .get followers or whatever, and it would get you the information, right? Like
Okay.
the API is like it's like an app that gives you information, basically.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's built on top of something else, right? APIs are
Oh,
built
okay.
to do things. So there's a Twitter one, there's a Reddit one.
It sounds like something we should be telling Epic Games, because it sounds like they'd be really into this.
If they'd be really interested in that data mining. And so there's APIs for all sorts of stuff, and
Elite
like
has an API.
Elite, games as
Oh,
well.
don't
That's
tell
the other
Epic.
thing. Yeah. So like StarCraft, for instance, StarCraft 2 has an API, and so maybe you wanted to mine data from a game or something, or maybe more interestingly for me, maybe you wanted to write an AI for a game. Well, how do you get you want to tell this AI to kick? How do you get the AI to kick? Well, there's an API that says .kick or whatever.
exe.kick.
So
Elite's actually very good for that, because in one of the, I guess last year when they added an update, they added a player journal. So literally every single thing that happens in the game is logged. So
Right.
you can use that with the API to like create programs that interact with the game, and things that know what's happening in the game because it logs the stuff immediately. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and with Steam's API, you'll be able to work to stop your game from getting like DDoSed and stuff like that. And there's a lot of potentially cool stuff that are here. It's always good when someone like works on something, does a good job of it, and then lets everyone else do it, and buys them some goodwill among programmers, which is helpful because programmers make your games.
I mean, Steam's like, there's been some issues with Steam, in recent years where like stupid games end up getting through or just weird things end up happening. But I feel like generally that's not really Steam's fault. They just kind of end up getting into a edge case scenario.
I mean, it
where
is
it's like,
their
oh
fault.
man. There's sometimes, but I feel like their intentions are generally pretty decent. It's not like
I mean,
they're trying to be an open company that lets anybody publish something that they're working on and market it to the world. So
Yes,
I don't know.
but at the
I like
same
that.
time, some quality control wouldn't go amiss.
I think they
Quality
have to
control
make a
would be-
decision on what they actually want to do, if they want to be a quality control company or if they want to be a hands-off company, because they're doing a little bit of both right now.
Yeah, for like again edge cases, sure. Like that fucking rape game we were talking about last week. That's obviously something that needs to be addressed. But if there, and I think some scams and stuff that are on Steam should be addressed as well, because some of the games that are on there are straight up just scams. But in terms of creating a marketplace where you get everything from Skyrim to Witcher to Stardew Valley and shit like that, it's nice to have a place where it's not just mega corporations competing for consumer interest.
I agree. I think that's one of the great things about PC gaming. I think it's very
very
true
true.
to the spirit of PC gaming in that way. I agree 100%.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Anyway, there's also DDoS protection here that Valve is giving to people that use their service.
That's good.
Yeah. They're also revisiting how they handle user reviews. So we see it a lot. There's some controversy that happens with
God damn it.
with a game, and then it basically gets review bombed, right? Everybody storms the game, gives it a low score, and it drops the overall score of the game. So that when you click on the game, it's like, oh, everybody thinks this game is awful. Maybe I won't buy it. So they're not changing too much. Basically, all they're introducing is a tool on their end that will notify them when they get like a mass. They get mass negative, or I guess even positive reviews on a certain game. It'll notify them, and then they'll have a team of people that look at the reviews, and they'll determine whether or not this is off-topic stuff that's going on with the reviews.
So
So
I
if
guess in the
it's-
same way Rotten Tomatoes were deleting reviews.
Kind
Well,
of.
the Rotten Tomatoes had a bug. It's a different.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
We
that's
probably,
the story anyway.
Yeah.
we're at 2 hours. We probably need to end soon.
Yeah, it's fine. It's episode 200.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, we gotta go 200 hours.
Oh no, I'm out.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, according to Adam, we gotta finish up. So what's this shit?
Well, we started on a sad note, so let's end on a sad note. And somewhat unrelated, but I just kind of wanted to mention it because I am a big F1 fan. That earlier this week, or I guess last week, based on the way we're recording this, but last week, suddenly, Charlie Whiting, the race director of Formula One, passed away. It was massively unexpected. He had a pulmonary embolism, let's say that, which was a blockage in the artery of one of his lungs. And he ended up passing away in the night on the eve of the Formula One season starting. So it was very kind of tragic, and just kind of
That sucks
wanted
to hear that, man.
it's very unfortunate. He was a big superpower in the Formula One world. As a race director, he pretty much oversaw everything that happened during the race weekend and has done pretty much exclusively since the 90s. So he's been the guy for a very long time, and having to replace somebody like that on super short notice, literally like the day of, cannot be an easy task for the people who have to find that person and then the person given the shoes to fill. So all of that stuff going on, just massive respect to the guy. He was, I only know him from videos and stuff and the way he carried himself around other members of the Formula One community. But from what I know and what I've seen, he seemed like a real genuine dude. So it's a massive loss for the sport.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, it's really too bad to hear that. It always sucks when somebody kind of passes, when somebody young passes away suddenly.
He wasn't too young, but I mean, still like, I think he was in his 60s, 50s or 60s, but
That's still kind of
it's,
young, though. I mean, most,
yeah,
people are
on
living
the
to their
grand
80s
scale
and
of it.
90s.
Yeah.
He wasn't like 107, which is like, why aren't you dead?
But at the same time, there was like no symptoms of this. There were photos of him the day before, even the night before, talking with some of the drivers and acting very normal and very Charlie-like. So it was very strange to suddenly, like, a couple hours later hear that he's dead from a blockage. It's very, it's crazy how sudden sometimes things like that happen. But anyway, I guess on a slightly related and more positive note to go out on, me and Dave are starting our F1 series in 2018 again, doing videos in that. So I guess you can check that out.
Yeah, the first one came
As
out
we
the
do
day of
those.
the recording.
Yes. Oh shit, those are players. I shouldn't be shooting at them. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. Looking
Yeah,
forward to
check
getting
out
back there.
Aaron's F1,
shit.
Aaron and Dave's F1 series. And remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you want to see more of us or hear more of us. And tune back in same time next week when we continue to talk about other things
Yeah.
that weren't on this list. But we'll have another list next week in episode 201.
All right. Well, thank you.
Play
Andrew,
us
for
out,
hosting.
Aaron.
Oh, okay. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.